Okay. Okay, so today we're going to go through, I'm going to cover who's Constantia, what do we do, why are we talking about claims, and introduce you to motor, non-motor. Also understand the internal processes that affect the journey, most especially the obstacles versus the real journey or the ideal journey, and some experiences and best practice. So the first and foremost, start off, what is the purpose of Constantia? Our fundamental purpose as a business and as an insurer is to enable our partner success. Now you may ask, what is a partner? In our case, a partner is a UMA. It is an underwriting manager that we have given a pen. We've given them a mandate to pay claims on our behalf. So that we consider a partner, because we're linked into their systems, their values, they're linked into ours. And our vision for this partnership is to be our partner's insurer of choice, because he's got other partners, he's chosen us. We've got other UMAs, we've chosen them. And what's our mission through this? Our mission is authentic relationships, empowering them and co-creating with them. And we believe that our value proposition as a business is to enable partners' growth through business sustainability. The claims department has coined something, our values, into an acronym we called PEACH. And PEACH, we take out the P for pride, proud. And we believe that is, how do we sit back and look at our people, and our people look at the work they've done and they're proud of that. There's a proud of that experience they gave a client, gave a broker, gave a UMA. People went through a tough time through the SASRIA claims or through the riot claims, or they went through a tough time through the floods that happened in KZN. But how did we add value to their lives? So we, like you and I. And the next one we work with very, very close, and you'll see it come out later on in my presentations. How do we add empathy, and how do we care deeply for our staff, our people, and our insured? Authenticity, are we real and transparent? We ask ourselves that question all the time, because as a business, you can slip and slide from time to time. And collaboration, do we collaborate? How do we collaborate? Do we enable? How do we enable? Do we give tools? Do we help? Do we work with our partners, our clients, our suppliers, etc.? And then humility. What does humility mean? And are we willing to learn from that supplier? As an insurer, you think, you know what, you're supplying a service to that insured. But I think it's fresh news that majority of the service is actually supplied by the supplier. It's the plumber that supplies the service. It's the panel beater that supplies the service. It's a tow truck driver that supplies the service in the claims world. It's not so much us. So these values got to be really, really lived, and we try our best to do it. From a Constantia point of view, this is how we set up. We as an insurer, we have the UMA, as I spoke about, as a partner. We have intermediaries who are brokers and the clients. Just put some of what we do. I don't want to share too much, but some of what we do in terms of our turnaround time. You can see the blue for the commercial. We are at that 5-day for authorization. We want to be at 3-day, and then we want to go further down. On the personal lines, we at a 3-day, and we want to be at a 2-day. We hit it once. So motor claims generally dominate the insurance market as far as Constantia is concerned. However, we've seen a rise in non-motor due to the global warming, the recent weather conditions, and the catastrophes, as well as the SASRIA-related claims. Assessors are now becoming inundated with, we've never heard of non-motor loss adjusters becoming inundated, and that is happening currently. And that's why the turnaround times affect non-motor. You know, with a vehicle, you can take an Uber, you can take a rental car, but when the house is flooded, it sends a different message. And I think that the insurers, like us, we have a role to play in that. We're going straight into the presentation. My presentation today is going to be very story-like, and so no video clips or anything, but I'd like to take you through a few journeys. So Mary's geyser burst on a Monday morning before she left for a very important conference. The insurer contacted the insurer and was told that the service provider will be in contact. Service provider made a contact a day later and said they're on the way. The driver then called several times saying he couldn't find the house, eventually arrived hours later, only to say that he was unable to fix the problem. Mary called the insurer back to relog the issue. The insurer assumed that the issue was resolved. So she relogged, but Mary waited another day for the assistance. Service provider arrived, but at this time with incorrect tools. Example, if it's a double-story house, did he carry a ladder? Service provider left and returned later the next day, later that day, and finally resolved the issue. Mary was very upset and took to social media to complain about a horrible experience. So what did we learn from Mary's experience? We learned two things. We learned how is the business set up? How are they organized? And how is Mary looking at the business? So one is the customer, Mary, is looking from the outside into the business. One is the business looking from the inside out to Mary. So the business, from a business point of view, they're managing internal processes, claim forms. They, in the business process, is turnaround times, maybe unplanned leaves. People are sick, don't have the skills to deal with Mary's situation, or unprepared, or no contact to the from the insurer. She repetitively made calls or repeated herself through several contact center agents. She missed a conference. The house is messy. She had to heat the water manually. She's stressed. So as you can see, there's two layers to a good journey. One is how you set up for a good journey, and the other is how the person receiving the journey experienced the journey. Another journey is an accident claim. This time, David had an accident on his way to his daughter's concert. He didn't have the contact number or contact details to claim. People don't normally carry that around with them. Eventually got the broker's number and called the insurer. The IVR option was unclear. Finally was able to register the claim, but the agent didn't understand the benefits and put David on hold several times. While you put David on hold, he was calling the underwriter to understand the benefits. Agent transferred the call to the value-added services supplier, but doesn't explain the issue clearly. David repeats the events to the supplier, but the call gets cut. Finally connects to the supplier again, explains the situation, but the systems are freezing, which makes David extremely frustrated and angry. David is not kept informed on the process and the estimated time for the tow truck to arrive. The tow truck finally arrives, and the driver was very rude. David is now giving a bad report. So what did we learn from this? From David's perspective, he was emotional, frustrated, he panicked a bit. If he picked up a car hire, it wasn't clean. No update from his insurer or broker. And as we see that tow truck driver was not too friendly. Finally, David missed his daughter's concert. That's what matters to David. From a business point of view, the turnaround times were not managed. There was several call handoffs. There were several internal processes. He had to repeat his message a few times. There was no interaction from one department to the other, and they were unprepared for him. So I've taken you to these two scenarios to only understand that things like Uber, Amazon, Airbnb, they have made customer journey the fundamental purpose of being alive, of being in existence. And they've made it so easy for human beings to interact. And people have gotten used to pressing a button and getting my transport to take me from place A to place B. So they're used to things like digital experience. They're used to having good efficiency. Customer time is now being valued by many businesses around the world. Live updates is a normal thing. We use WhatsApp. My kids use WhatsApp. My parents use WhatsApp. WhatsApp is becoming a reality in our country. People want to feel respected by closing the loop. What exactly happened to my claim? And using WhatsApp, interactive chatbot can take a lot of noise away for standard items. What did David and Mary want? In the case of David, you wanted the client, you wanted to contact his broker, you wanted the claim registered, you wanted it just assessed and approved, you wanted his vehicle repaired and vehicle hire easy as possible to pick up and drop off, and then you wanted his vehicle repaired. One would say that's not a big request. But let's see behind that. What was the real problem? In most companies, you got to go back to see what is your internal operating model. It's sometimes our internal operating model becomes a barrier because we want brokers, customers to fit into our models instead of preparing our model to fit the customer. And so what makes the model? The model is just a shell, but processes, good or bad processes, enable the model. A lot of models got many touch-off points in contact centers, many compliance questions, many questions that repeats itself. I don't know if you had that experience, but I had the experience many times where you had to phone and they ask you for your ID number or validate yourself. You go to the next person, ask the same question. You go to the third person, ask the same question. So is this process is enabling or not? Next point is a lack of improvements. It's not that us as insurers don't know what is broken or what needs to be fixed. We know, but we sometimes fix the symptoms and not the problem. We fix it for Mary, but there's hundreds of other Marys, hundreds of other Davids. How important is that? And I'll speak to that as a culture later on. Communication really, it's a quick win, but it is something that we should take seriously because sometimes the client or the insurer or the broker can actually understand if he's communicated. He manages expectation. This can only be done. This parts are coming from overseas. We don't have it in the country. We'll get it to you in a week. That communication is important. Unique situations. How are we managing unique situations? Or do you need that uniqueness? Or should you be known for unique experiences? And I had a good opportunity of studying Southwest Airlines. And Southwest Airlines in the US, they are not for the VIP passengers. They are for the passengers that their value proposition is turning around the plane as quick as possible, not providing meals. And they will tell you, we don't provide the unique services. Be upfront. That will help our industry, help us as well. Staff entropy. It's the culture. What do we have a problem-solving culture towards the customer experience? Because many of us do have, but is there a clear goal as to how we want the customer to experience us? Poor workmanship. My history comes from the motor industry. And to be honest to you, 75% of our life we spend developing other businesses like Denso. It's an electronic company. It's like a Bosch in Japan. We spend a lot of time there developing a supplier or developing Bosch itself in South Africa or Hesto harnesses. Why? Because we believe if we develop the supplier, we will, as a company, look good. And because that is the supplier who makes us look good. And then poor awareness. In this case, the insurer didn't even know that Mary's water situation wasn't resolved. So some of the areas in our transformation that we got to consider, and it's maybe low-hanging fruits, or maybe some things that we got to look into. Number one is treating customer fairly. This was a cliche many years, but it actually can add value to a business if we take it seriously and develop it within our digitization, develop it within, carve it into our processes, into how we speak, into how we interact with each another. And I believe as an industry, it can help us. Simplify our processes. Ask the customer, he'll tell you. Somebody once told me. So simplify our processes. What we also did in the non-insurance environment, we used to ask customers to come and have a customer day out and collect information similar in that fashion to ask the customer, if we had to give you this experience, what would it be? And get to know that, get to understand customer experience. Listen to the voice of the customer, and it's also another cliche. I believe if we're serious about customer experience and put it in the forefront of our strategy, from the CEO right to the last person on the floor should listen to customers. What are they saying? Why are they saying it? When are they saying it? What can we do about it? Because they will tell us how to carve our strategy. And that will lead us to understanding who they are. Should we have segmentation? Shouldn't we have segmentation? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Okay. Understand the customer-centric culture. Build a culture where everybody participates and involved in improving your service, improving something. When a staff member does something for a client, he needs a bragging podium to talk about it. Give it to him. Personalized experience, and I spoke about that, and in insurance, we always want to say that we want to give you a special personalized services, but is your model built for that personalized experience? Do you have the tools for it? And we can ask ourselves when we're doing strategic planning about that. And in some companies said, we do not want to have it. And then the customer clearly understands you. And data and journeys, I believe that there's a lot of data, not only your own company data like us, we only use us, but we use what's happening worldwide. We use what's happening in the industry to help us learn on our journey. And I say learn because we don't know it all. When we say we do, I think that's what will push us backward. But as an industry, I think there's a lot of data that we can learn from. And then maintain expectations. And that we can do only by communicating. And communicate, use the channel of communication once. As an industry, I feel that we have one of the best opportunities of understanding the emotions of the client. Now, we experience with our clients a claim when a robbery has happened, or when a house catastrophe like the floods, or when somebody had died in an accident, or somebody lost a loved one. The emotions at its highest possible point. And at that time, the client is claiming for something, belonging, or vehicle, but he's at a very emotional state. Is that not an opportunity for us to show who we are, the values we have as an industry to that client? We are very different. If you see the bottom of my slide, there's import and exports. It is very different. That container has got no emotion. Or we see a logistics company or the Coca-Cola truck. Yes, there's an emotion to the brand, but really from moving from one end to the other, there's no emotion. Or the conveyor belt. But when it comes to our industry as an insurer, we can use this as an opportunity to change that mentality that insurance is a grudge purchase. Because we have an opportunity to change that, we should use it. Sometimes we feel there's a vacuum. The customer is on one end, the insurer is on the other end. But what is that vacuum? Can we not bring that closer? Can we not use tools like digitization to understand the difference between humanity and technology and how we can right fit that? And I think instead of a challenge, that's an opportunity. So how would you do that if they came closer? If that bridge was closed up? If the insurer and the client became closer? How would we do that? What would it look like? Let's see what it would look like. Number one, David had an accident on his way to his daughter's concert. He immediately sends a voice note via WhatsApp. He followed the prompts to register the claim by sending a short clip of the scene as well as the third party's vehicle. Shortly after, a tow truck was dispatched as well as an Uber arrived, making sure David was comfortable. He was taken to the concert. While at the concert, the claim was approved and immediately books a car hire. The car company was kind enough to bring the car to the concert. He was also notified that the third party will be paying for the damages. David was kept updated by the channel of his choice, which is WhatsApp in this case, on the progress of his car during the entire process. Once the car was repaired, he was notified in due course for collection. On the day of collection, David arrived with the rental vehicle company or the rental vehicle car to fetch his vehicle. And the rental vehicle took their car and he fetched his vehicle. David was pleased by the quick and efficient service he received from various service providers and posted a good review on Facebook. So what's our takeaway from this presentation and that situation that David was in? Start with the end in mind. So the scenario journey that we went through as David, could we not create that? Could we not have a picture of what that looks like and now build our processes and our journeys and align it to that instead of asking David to fit in our processes? Understand what the customer's value is. Understand what David's value is. What does he want out of it? How are we set up as an organization to deliver the experience the customer deserves? So sometimes we're going to have to do introspection here. Are we set up in a way that we can deliver these experiences? Or are we set up in a way that we want these experiences at a very high cost or not able to deliver it? Then close the gap between technology and humanity. Technology is not the answer to everything. But technology and humanity working together can create something beautiful for us. And then the final touch of the takeaway is experiment, because you do not know what you do not know. Experiment with one person, with one claim, and you'll find a better experience. And then improve from there, roll it out from there. Experiment in a fast-track claim or a small area. But don't stop experimenting for brand new experiences or brand new experimentation, not only for you, for the client, but also for your staff, for your leadership and management. I think as an industry, we got a huge role to play in humanity, with our society, with our people, and with our staff. Thank you.